I'm Christy, and this is Livin' La Vida Nomad. On my channel, I do videos on full-time travel and how to get started, world schooling, and becoming a digital nomad. So if those things interest you, consider clicking subscribe and watch on for more info. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about traveling without a car. So a lot of people, when they hear that I travel full time and that I do this lifestyle, they either think that we live in a van and have a vehicle, or we live in an RV and we have a vehicle, or we buy a vehicle when we get someplace. And sometimes that's true, but for the most part, we travel without a vehicle. And I'm going to kind of explain to you what that looks like for us as a family. So when we, just let me get comfortable, when we go somewhere, for example, if we go to Mexico, we fly, and then to get to where we're staying, I usually get a taxi from the airport to where we're staying. Just because there's usually taxis at the airport, it's usually simple to do, and not a lot of thought process goes into it, because by the time I get off the plane, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm whatever these emotions are, but they're usually not relaxed and able to, think about the best way to do things. So usually I just grab a cab, get us to where we're going. We get in, unload, relax, take a day or two to relax, and then we figure things out. And so one of the things that we do is, so like when we were in Mexico, we got to Cuernavaca, we got to Mexico City is where we very first got to. We went to the hotel, got that sorted, and then so Google Maps you can choose driving, public transit, walking, or cycling. And I picked public transit, and then I would Google playgrounds or whatever I wanted to do. I would Google that, and then it would show me how to get there on public transit. And so we would just follow that. And sometimes what I would do is I would just screenshot that, because if I didn't have data or Wi-Fi while I was on the bus or on the train, at least then I could scroll down and see, okay, so the first step is to walk to that train station, catch the metro to this station, and then walk 50 meters and take this bus, or whatever the method was to get there. I had it all listed out so that I could read it and follow it. So I would do that. When we got to Cuernavaca, I saw when we came up that there was like a public bus that was driving around the neighborhood. And so I went up to where I had seen it stop, and we caught the bus, and we just kind of rode it around. It was not an actual loop, but I sorted it out. But that way I was able to see where the bus went, what we could get to on that bus route, and figure it out. So we usually take the public bus, the metro. In some countries there's like a rickshaw or a motorcycle taxi. We've done that. And generally, if you just ask around, they'll let you know. Like one time we were in Santo Domingo, and I asked this lady, and I said, is there like a public bus or a public car, or, to get us from here to downtown? And she said, I only drive, I don't really know. But then we walked a little bit further, and we asked some like local guys who were just kind of walking, and they were like, yeah, it's just over there. Okay. And so I find for us, my boys have kind of been raised this way, but for us, the public transit is part of the adventure. So, we get up in the morning and it's like, oh, let's go on an adventure today. And sometimes, like in Mexico, that adventure was just going on the metro to a playground or going on the metro to a market. Like it, you know, and my boys just thought it was the best thing ever, you know. So, and then there are times when I do like rent a car. I'll rent a car for like 1 day or 2 days, but I kind of have a plan of what I need the car for. So, you know, like I'll rent the car and we'll go get all of our groceries from the grocery store, bring them back, put them away quickly, and then, you know, we go to the beach or we go, you know, somewhere where we can't get on public transit as easily. So like when we were in the Dominican Republic, I rented a car because we lived at the end, we lived in a couple of different places, but at the end we lived in this house up kind of on the mountain, but the road to get up there was really, really rough. And if it rained, you really couldn't get up there very easily unless you had a 4-wheel drive car or Jeep or something. And so the road was really rough, and I wanted to buy a big flat of eggs, and I knew that if I put the eggs on my scooter and went up there, they would get broken. So I rented a car to buy a flat of eggs. But when I rented the car, we got groceries, we came back, put them away, and then we went to this beach that we normally couldn't get to with public transit, just because we could get there by public transit, but it would take like 2.5 hours on the bus to get there. So it was just easier to go in the car. And, you know, we just did things that we normally couldn't do on public transit. So, you know, and just made a day out of it, or 2 days, or whatever, however long I had the car for. But that isn't like a normal thing. Like, don't rent a car for a month at a time or anything like that. And I rather enjoy it. And then the last time we were in the DR this past time, I did buy a scooter. I think I paid $1,000 for it, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on what the conversion rate was. But anyway, I bought this scooter and it worked really well. I was able to put one child in front of me and one on the back, or sometimes I would put both of them on the back. And they never really went very far with me. I would use it like to drive them to my friend's place to watch them if I was going out for a day, or, you know, we would just use it to go within the village kind of thing, to go for pizza or whatever. But it really helped me to get around and get things done. So you could do that. You could buy like a little scooter or something like that, or even a bike, whatever thrills you. But for us, no car works. And I would highly suggest that before you go to the, like, kind of get it out of your head that you absolutely need a car, because in a lot of these countries, it's really more of a pain to have a car than to not have a car. So, you know, like a lot of places, you know, where you can rent will not have parking. And if they do, they want you to pay for it. Even driving around is very different from in the States. And, you know, finding parking when you get to places can be difficult. Things like that. So for me, I prefer not having a car. If you absolutely must have a car, then you can look at the options, and I'll do a different video on that. But I mean, I've had people who say, "Oh, I want to travel full time," you know, and they're you know, hell bent on, I need to ship my car to wherever they're going to start with or whatever. And then after what, I'm like, well, just try it without. And then they try it without and they're like, oh, I'm going to sell my car, you know, because it's a whole different life than the life that you're living now. So you really need to just be open to different ways of doing things. And now, you know, like we have a car now that we're in Canada and kind of have settled down somewhat. Like I'm still planning to travel again, but we have a car but mostly because we live in a small town, and in order for us to get anywhere that's bigger, we need to drive because there's no bus from here to the city, things like that. And we are 50 minutes from the next nearest city, you know, and it's nice to have the car to be able to go and explore, because in most of these developing countries, you can go and explore on public transportation really, really cheap. Even in Europe, you can go on public transportation quite well, you know, on the bus, on airfare is quite cheap in Europe, just things like that. We don't have that in Canada. We have really expensive airfare. Our bus system that we used to have that went across the country is now no longer. Rail travel in Canada is exorbitantly expensive. So for us, having a car is a better option. We just bought a beater car that didn't cost a lot of money, and we just use that. As a matter of fact, I don't even have a valid driver's license anymore. It expired while we were traveling, and I wasn't able to renew online. And so now I've had to write my learner's license again. The last time I wrote it, I was 14. I'm a little bit older than 14 now. And so now I'm going to go take my driver's license. I'm just waiting for the brakes and the tires to be done on the car so that I can do that. And then I will have my driver's license again. But in reality, I really don't drive a lot. I know how. I'm okay with it. I'm good with it. I just don't drive a lot. It's just not anything that's in my lifestyle right now. And so that's traveling without a car. If you travel without a car, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you have any questions about traveling without a car, please let me know in the comments as well. And I really hope that you'll at least give traveling without a car a chance. Like, give it a try. If you go on, for example, let's say you decide to go on a small trial Worldschooling trip for a month or two, give traveling without a car a chance. Give it a try. See how it works for you. If you get there and you're doing it without a car and you realize, you know, I really need a car, then you can go rent a car, you know, but give it a try.